All right, so working on this 2006 Chrysler Sebring. I couldn't find any videos about changing out the bank 1 sensor 1 or upstream sensor 1 oxygen sensor on these things. So I decided to make a video for it. This will cover the 95 through 2006 Chrysler Sebring and the 95 to 2006 Dodge Stratus and Avenger, the 2.7 liter V6. So the other day, she came to me about having her engine code on, so I decided to throw my scan reader on there, and the bank 2 sensor 2 decided to come up. Change that guy out, really easy to do. She decided to run some errands that day, came back later home, and check engine light came back on. So I thought maybe there was an issue with, the sensor again, or something else down the line. But lo and behold, when I put my scanner on it, bank 1 sensor 1 decided to come up instead. So as you can see, these were basically the same codes that I received for the bank 2 sensor 2. So got a new oxygen sensor for the upstream sensor number 1, and like I said, after doing some research, couldn't find any videos, and some of the forums that I was reading didn't really help out either. They just talked about how hard it is to get to. Gotta love these engineers and their designs and everything. So just to point out that this is the bank 2 sensor 2, right on top of the manifold here for cylinders 2, 4, and 6. So that means that the bank 1 sensor 1 or upstream sensor 1 is right in here for the cylinder 1, 3, and 5. As you can see, here's your heater core tubing going in through the firewall, and then directly underneath is where the sensor 1 is at. Real pain to get to from the top. I even tried looking over. Some guys suggested removing the whole air box and all the air ductwork and everything, but as you can see, even getting in on this side, it just was a pain. I mean, I put an air ratchet in there, could not break that guy loose at all. My next suggestion was maybe removing the valve cover, but that just seems like too much work just to get to a sensor. So I started doing some research, looked at in the manual about removing the rear manifold cover, and it talked about getting underneath the car, and you have to obviously remove the upstream sensor 1 or bank 1 sensor 1 oxygen sensor. So it was like, well, why not go underneath for it then, to see what if we could do it that way instead. So just to let you know, when I got started, I did, obviously I jacked up the vehicle, and then I decided to put some blaster on there to help loosen that guy up. Let that sit on there for probably about 10 minutes or so, and then actually, instead of putting direct heat, do a blowtorch or something on the sensor, I decided to just start the engine and run it for about 10-15 minutes to heat the threads up. Seemed to help out quite a bit. So if you look right underneath the heater core tubing coming in, you have your connector right here for your sensor number 1 upstream sensor. Has a nice little thumb tab there. You take the thumb tab off and unplug it, and then go underneath. So When you first look underneath, there is the Bank 2 Sensor 2. This is one I just replaced. Real easy to get to, real easy to do. It just, you know, a lot simpler. Before we get there, let me show you the tools I used. Hopefully it makes sense, but so I ended up using a 1/2-inch drive, flex ratchet, a 3/8 drive flex ratchet, obviously my extender. I'll explain. You do that on top when I went to torque it, and then my torque wrench, and then obviously went and got a, or I have a O2 sensor socket, 7/8, real easy to use, so the wires can fit in there, so you can pull, you know, the old one out, or at least when you go to put the new one in, you want to use this guy so you don't damage those wires into there. I ended up just cutting the wires off the old one, just so I didn't have to deal with them as I was taking it off. But again, as you can see, there's your Bank 2 Sensor 2 oxygen sensor. Get underneath the block, there's the great oil filter, and looks like she got an oil leak going on. I'll have to look into. So here is Bank 1 Sensor 1, or I'm sorry, Bank 1 Sensor 2 oxygen sensor. Another easy one to get to. You know, I'm sure it'll be going here soon since 2 of them already decided to go. So then you go a little bit further down, and as you can see, here is your rear manifold. This silver part is your rear manifold cover, and right here is your Upstream Bank 1 Sensor 1 sensor. Real easy to get to from here. You know, it is pretty narrow, but I was able to get both my hands in here at the same time, along with the ratchets and everything. So basically what I did is I placed my socket on top of the sensor, of course after letting it heat up and everything, and then I took my 1/2-inch drive flex ratchet, and I basically, after I already put the socket on, I put the 1/2-inch drive ratchet on top of that, and then placed it to where it was alongside the valve cover here for cylinders 1, 3, and 5, and then, you know, just tugged on it until it broke. And then once I got it to break, I decided to swap out the 1/2-inch ratchet with my 3/8 ratchet. My 3/8 was obviously a little bit shorter and gave me more room, and then I basically just used that to get the old sensor out the rest of the way, and then put my new sensor on with some in there, and made sure that it was nice and hand tight. So then I left my O2 sensor socket on here, and then I went back above and torqued it, and I'll show you where I went to do that to make it a lot easier. So once I made sure it was tight, I ended up, like I said, I left the socket on, and if you move the upper heater core tubing out of the way, right underneath of it is where the sensor's at. So my socket was right there. I plugged in my extension here, and I think, you know, just tuck it in there basically. I connected it on to the socket that was already there, and then you know, I was able to get its torque, called for 30 foot-pounds, and was able to torque it up. And then basically once you torque it up, then you make sure you reconnect the new leads from the new sensor on, and should be it. So hope that helped out. Like I said, there was no videos on there for the Bank 1 Sensor 1 or Upstream Sensor number 1, so I figured I'd make a video, help you guys out. And again, this is for a 95 through 2006 Chrysler Sebring and a 95 through 2006 Dodge Avenger and Stratus. So hope that helped you guys out. It sure made it a lot easier for me to do it that way instead of tearing everything apart, or paying out of the butt for a mechanic to do it or anything. I like to do my own work. So hope you guys liked the video. Appreciate it. Thank you.